Okay, I'm going to walk you through my installation of fog lights on my 2014 Ford Focus SE. It did not come with fog lights. Everything I've looked online said that they also don't come pre-wired, so you will need to order a set of fog lights with chrome bezels. And the set that I ordered was off of eBay, and it also came with a full wiring harness. It included one relay, and it also included a push button switch for wiring up in the cabin. I am not going to wire it up that way. I just want the fog lights to come on whenever the low beams come on, and I would like them to go off whenever the low beams stay on, but then the high beams come on. In order to do that, I needed to purchase an extra relay that came with the kit. This relay here that came with the kit plugs right in, but it is a normally open relay, and you would have to push that push button right there in order for it to activate the lights. And as I said, I don't want to have a button in the cabin. I just want to be able to turn my headlights on and have the fog lights come on whenever the low beams are on, and then whenever the high beams come on, the low beams still stay on. So what I had to do was go to Napa and get those two. The first is just the wiring harness for the 5-prong relay, and then this is the 5-prong relay that I purchased from Napa Auto Parts. The reason why I need that relay is I'm going to wire that to be activated when the high beams come on, and it will actually open and prevent the fog lights from being on whenever I click the high beams on. So I will walk you through what wires that you need to jump off of in order to do so. You do not want to run the power for the fog lights through the existing wire harness on your car. You will either blow fuses or you will fry wiring, and you don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is jump off of those two wires just to activate the relay, and then I'm going to run a hot wire directly from the battery to the wiring harness of the fog lights. So alright, I will be right back, and I'll show you how to remove the the fillers that are in where the headlights, or excuse me, the fog lights are going to be located. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want to do to be able to access the wires that you need to get to is to remove the front headlight assembly. So there are two bolts. There's a bolt right there, and there is a bolt right there. So you just need to back those out, and then your headlight assembly will slide out. It sticks a little bit, but it's not too bad to pull out. So I'm trying to hold my camera with one hand, so I'm going to do this and then I'll continue the video next. Okay, so I've pulled the two bolts out and the headlight is pulled forward. Now you'll notice there is the wiring harness that goes to the headlights. One of the things you want to do to get this off is there's a little tab that's holding this from just slipping out. So put a little screwdriver, a little flathead screwdriver, just tilt it slightly forward. You don't need to go crazy. Put the screwdriver right in here, tilt it slightly forward, and then you'll be able to pull the wiring harness off of the headlight assembly. So I'm going to put my phone down and do that. Okay, now you can see that I've completely removed the headlight assembly. Incidentally, I did mean to mention that this would be how you would change headlight bulbs, either low beam or high beam bulbs on your Focus. Is the headlight assembly is completely loose from the car, and then when you flip it around here on the back, there are two rubber caps. There's a rubber cap here, and then there's a rubber cap right here. This would let you access the two bulbs, and then there's also a rubber cap right here which lets you access the turn signal bulb. So okay, so let me zoom back over here. You can see down in there, that part right there is where your fog light assembly is going to mount. So we need to remove the black plastic filler that's in there. So you can see, if you can, it's tough to see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see with my hand there, but there's a clip right over here where I'm pointing with my screwdriver. If my phone would focus. There's a clip right in there, and then there's a clip on the other side, which you can't see because it's blocked, and then there's a clip right there at the point of my screwdriver. So we need to get those 3 clips released, and then that will let this black plastic filler piece come out so we can access the hole to install our fog light assembly. So a little bit tricky for me to do this and show you at the same time, again, because I'm trying to film this and do this all myself. But to get this to pop out, if I set my treble light down there, as I said, there's 3 clips there, and it's a little tricky to see, but the clip that we want to try to get at is this clip that's all the way on the outside corner of the car. And if you can get your fingers down in there and kind of just grab a hold of it, if you can see it, it's right at the end of my finger right there, and you can kind of just pull it in, and then that whole black plastic piece will pop out. So I'm going to come around on the outside and show you. I'm going to reach down. You can see me just reaching down. Once I find that black plastic piece and pop it out, then the whole assembly should come out fairly easily for you, just like that. So now it's removed. So now you can see where we will mount our fog light in. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the passenger side headlamp and assembly, and one thing I noticed is your windshield wiper fluid reservoir is in the way, and for me, I have pretty big hands and it's pretty tight to be able to get down in there. You can see where we're trying to get at, maybe, if you can see. But I was not able to reach over to the inside clip on the fog light hole piece. So what I did is I made a real quick little wooden shim. Just a little piece of scrap wood sitting around my shop here. And what you want to do is you actually want to go on the inside one first. And if you press that pretty good like that, put that shim in there, give it a little bit of a push. I'm sorry, the camera works crappy. It's enough that it will let this bezel pop out, and then, not the bezel, but this filler piece, and then the whole filler piece will come out, and then you're good. Now you have the other one removed. So that's kind of an alternative way if you want to make up a little. As I said, I don't have the plastic pry tool, so I just made a little piece out of some real soft poplar. So, all right. So now we have both the openings opened up. I'm going to clean them. Looks like there's some road debris and stuff in there before I try to install anything. Just trying to get an idea, thinking out loud. I'm looking at where I may run the wiring harness, and I'm thinking, because there is wiring, and there's wiring running right along this this rail right in front of the engine there. Probably going to run it right across here. I would recommend, because of all the wiring hookups that you're going to need to make, the batteries over here, underneath there, that I would recommend starting with the passenger side and then running your wiring over, and then I'm going to show you which wires that you actually need to jump off of with your relays to power. There's the power that goes to your low beams, high beams, turn signals, all that. I've already tested all those, so I can tell you which wire is here in just a second once I'm ready to hook that up. And you're going to use this power off of here to trigger the relay to send power from a direct wire from your battery to your wiring harness for your fog lights. Okay, so after I removed both bezels and I started looking at being able to put the fog light assembly into place, I realized that the fog light assembly is not going to fit down through there because of the windshield wiper fluid reservoir. You probably, from the looks of things, would have enough room to be able to just peel back the inside fender well liner and then reach in from there to put in the passenger side, but it does not appear to that there's going to be enough room, I'll show you here, to be able to do that from the driver's side. So plan B is I am going to have to remove the wind reflector road debris. You're going to have to take this one off here, and then you're going to have to go back and take this one off here. So that's going to be a little bit of a work, but it's not too bad, just some Torx bolts is all. So I got to get that removed, and then you should be able to access right up from underneath here up into where you need to be able to put the fog light assembly in. So I'm going to remove that next. Okay, so I'm going to show you what you got to install next. I got both the bottom pieces off, and what you have to do, your kit comes with two screws, two Phillips head screws, and it comes with two of these black pieces that the screw screws into. So you need to install these first into the correct holes. So when you actually put the fog light up into place, you have something to secure it to the car. So the places where you need to install them, it's a little bit tricky to see, is the first one needs to go right into here. Again, sorry for the shaky camera work. Okay, so that one's installed, and then the second one goes right in there. All right, now you will be able to put your fog light up into place. Just notice something on this fog light. It does say top. It's a little bit tricky to see, but imprinted in the glass it does say top. So you want to make sure you install that part up. So it is a very tight fit. I thought I was maybe going to be able to get it put in without taking that second piece off, but I was not able to. From what I've been able to see, you need to put the side towards the windshield washer fluid in first and kind of manipulate the fog light into place. So, all right, I'm going to shut the camera off because I'm not able to do this one-handed, and I will be right back. So I want to show you what it looks like once it's all completely installed. As you can see, it's completely installed. Both screws are fully screwed in. I would make sure you get those fully screwed in. If you've ever gone down the road and you see someone, when they hit a bump, their headlight wiggles, that looks like crap. You don't want that to happen with your fog lights. So make sure you do get those screwed completely in. They are pretty tricky because the screws that came with my kit were pretty coarse thread, so I did have to really wrench on it to get them to go in, but they did go in finally completely. I want to show you what screwdriver I ended up having to use. I started out with this. A shorter one than this, and it was a little bit too short. So then I found this one was maybe about, I don't know, ½ inch longer, and this one worked perfect to get both those screws in. So now all we'll need to do is to install the chrome bezel, which should hopefully just snap into place, and the passenger side is done. So I'm going to put the phone down now and install the driver's side. It's done exactly the same way, and once I do that, I will start the video back up and show you how I'm going to run the wiring and which wires you need to jump off of and how to put that all together. Okay, so I want to show you what I did finish up. I have the fog light as well as the chrome bezel installed on the driver's and the passenger side. They look pretty nice. I did run the wiring. You can see this wire right here is the wiring for the fog light on the passenger side. I ran it around, it's a little bit tough to see, but I ran it around the windshield washer fluid reservoir, and then ran it right along here. You can see there's a couple clips there. Used a couple zip ties and ran it all the way over and then underneath over towards the side where the battery is. So now we're going to show you what wires you need to hook up and how you need to do that. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the cover off of your battery. You will need to remove both of them because you need to be able to access the negative terminal. So that just kind of pops up and slides out, and you can see it's a pretty tight fit. It's going to be a little bit tricky getting down in there, but you can see that there's an extra kind of an auxiliary stud right on top with a nut on the negative as well as the positive. So we're going to use those to connect up our negative and then our hot wires. So as I said, my wiring harness is just kind of a generic wiring harness. It did come with a fuse, and it comes with this attachment that plugs directly into a relay that they gave me with the kit. It's a four-prong relay. Plugs directly into that. From the relay has a long white wire that goes all the way down to here that has a switch that you are supposed to mount in your cab so you can turn your fog lights on and off. I'm going to bypass this switch. I don't want to be able to turn them on and off, and I really don't feel like trying to fish wires through the cab. As you can see, it's very, very, very tight in there, trying to get down in there and then run a wire down. So I'm just going to clip that white wire and remove this because I do not need the switch. As I said before, and I'm going to outline this a little bit more, there's the white wire I'm removing. Here's the wiring diagram that came with the kit. I'm removing all of this. I'm going to use, rather than having the wire come over, and I actually think this is a little bit wrong. It shows a red wire coming from the relay over to here, and that wasn't the case. The white wire was, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of figuring here of which wire goes where, but it's not a big deal. But I'm removing all of this. So I am no means a professional, but I'm going to show you what I sketched up here and kind of give you an idea of what I'm trying to do. So obviously from my battery, I'm going to go to the fuse first, and I'm going to go to the first relay. This is the relay that comes with the kit. It is a normally open relay. So that relay will have power coming from the battery, and it will be triggered by connecting it to the low beam wire. So when the low beams come on, it will trigger this relay to close, which will then send power to a second relay. This second relay is the relay that I purchased from it was Napa Auto Parts, and I showed you at the beginning of the video what part number that was. Now I did get a 5-post relay. The reason being is I need this one to be normally closed. This relay will then have the power go through it and then down to the fog lights, and then the fog lights in turn will have and go up to the negative terminal. But this relay, I'm going to go back to this one, this normally closed one, is going to be hooked directly up to my high beams. So when my high beams are activated, it will send power to this relay and then open this relay, which will shut off the flow of electricity from the battery through the fuse through the first relay, and it will stop here rather than going all the way down to the fog lights, and then it will shut them off when the high beams are on. The reason being that I have to do this is this Ford Focus, as well as a lot of other newer cars, my old car was a 2010 Volkswagen Jetta, and it was the same way. It utilized both bulbs, low and high beam, when the high beam was put on. So I needed to run this second relay right here to shut the fog lights off whenever I activated the high beams. So, okay, I'll be right back with you. And once I have the wiring figured out, what needs to go where, I will show you which wires you need to jump off of. Okay, so did a little bit of testing here, and so what I figured out was that this yellow wire here is the wire that would have gone to the switch that would have told this relay to allow the power to go from the battery, which is this red wire, up through the fuse and then into the relay, and then let it continue through the relay and then out this yellow wire down to my fog lights. So again, this is the switch light. This is what would have, when I touched the switch, would have told the relay to allow the power. So if I touch this to the hot terminal, you can see that the fog lights are now on. All right, so that again is the only thing that is what activates the relay to allow the power to go through. I need to install this second relay so it is normally closed, and it needs to interrupt the yellow wire right here. So this yellow wire is going to be the one that I'm going to clip. I'm going to add on a couple of connectors, and so I'm going to do that next, and then I will show you what you need to jump which wires you need to jump. This is going to go, as I said right here, to the low beams. Again, we are not drawing power from the low beams. We are, as far as to run the fog lights, we are just using this wire to activate the relay, which is drawing power directly from the battery. You do not want to draw power directly from your stock wiring harness. You will burn those wires up and have big issues if you do that. So let me install the relay in between this wire right here, and then I will continue and show you where the couple of wires that need to come down from the relay need to jump off of this plug, which is your headlight plug, to activate and deactivate your fog lights when you have your low and high beams on. Okay, so I went and drew up this diagram a little bit better, although it's not perfect by any means. It'll give you an idea of what needs to be connected to where on a 5-post relay. So, as I said before, the yellow wire is the wire that runs the hot directly to the fog lights. I did not want the fog lights to stay on with my high and low beams, so I wanted to interrupt them by putting another relay that is connected to my high beams, and so when my high beams are turned on, it will shut the fog lights off. So what I said in the last video, I clipped the yellow wire, I installed 2 connectors and then put them onto the relay. So I want to show you or tell you which 2 posts on the relay that you need to do that to. So this is coming from the first relay, and this would be the hot that would normally go directly to the fog lights. So what I did is that one was put on to, as you can see over here on my diagram, when it comes from the first relay, it's going to come over and it will connect to post 30 on the second relay. Now, I want to wire this so it is normally closed, and whenever the high beams are turned on, it will open it, which will shut off the fog lights. So in order to wire it so it's normally closed, you need to then jump this second yellow wire right here that's going to the fog lights, needs to be put off the 87A post, and that will wire it so it is normally closed. I believe if you put it on the 87 post, it would be normally open, yes, but I want it to be normally closed, so I put it on the 87A post. Now there's a couple other posts that we need to use. We do need to install the wire that goes from this second relay here down to the high beams. I'm sorry, I was putting the wrong place. So that wire that is going to go down to the high beams, which just activates this relay to open it and shut off the fog lights, will be attached to post 86. So I already have my wire here labeled to high beams, and then we will just install that on post 86. It's very simple. Okay, now the last post that we need to use is going to be this post 85. You can see right here, it needs to be connected to the negative. So because I have a negative running directly from the battery already, I am going to cut this wire and splice in a negative pigtail that I already made that's going to come off this post right there. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Once that's installed, I will come back and show you which wires on the headlight plug you need to jump off of with the 2 wires that are going to activate and deactivate your relays so your fog lights come on and off with your high and low beams. Okay, so I want to show you what I did now. I have the ground hooked up. And so, as I said, the last 2 wires I have to hook up are these 2. Now, this wire is going to go to the high beam, and this is going to go to the low beam. These are the 2 wires that are going to activate the relays. So when this receives power, it will turn the headlights on. When this receives power, it will turn the headlights off, which is the high beam. So I'll show you. I'm just going to jump it off of the battery terminal over here real quick to show you. Once this receives power, you will get the fog lights to come on, and then once this receives power, you'll get them to come back off. Alright, so I want to show you the last 2 wires that we need to hook up, and those are the 2 wires that will trigger our relays to open and close. As I said before, the kit came with a relay that is a normally open relay. That's a 4-post relay, and the wire that comes from that is going to be this white one, and so we want to hook this white wire up to the low beams, so whenever the low beams are activated, it will trigger the relay to close, and then let electricity flow from the battery all the way through the second relay, which is a normally closed one, and down to our fog lights. This relay has a red wire coming from it that needs to be hooked up to our high beams, and when the high beams are turned on, it will open this relay and then prevent the fog lights from being on. So I've already done the testing, and here I wrote down the 2 wires that we need to see. You can see the brown with blue stripe is the wire that energizes when the low beams are turned on. So if you're looking at your stock wiring harness, it's going to be this wire here, or you could call it blue with brown stripe, whichever. This is the wire that we want to connect our first relay, the normally open relay, to. The second wire that we want to hook up to is the gray with brown stripe, and that is the wire, it's completely on the left here. This wire is energized when the high beams are turned on, and so whenever we hook up this red wire to that, it will open our second relay and prevent the fog lights from being on. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump off of those. I'm going to use these little quick connectors. I know they're not the greatest thing. Some people say you just have to solder, but I don't want to cut the stock wiring harness at all. So I'm just going to jump off of them with those two. So I'll come back once I complete that and show you how everything works. Alright, so I went and spliced both of those wires into the 2 wires that I showed you, and reinstalled. Both headlights are now installed. I did, in between my battery dying on my phone, also install the 2 pieces that we removed from the bottom of the car when we were starting our install. So I'm going to turn the lights on here and show you that right now the highs are on. So if you go and look, the high beams are on, which means both the bulbs are working, which is going to be a little bit tough to see, and the fog lights are not on. And as I go over here and push the lever forward, come back over and look, you can see now that the fog lights are both working. So there you go. I looked high and low on the internet, couldn't find anything about installing any videos of what wires to splice off of or anything, so I figured I would make one to show you what my install was. I'm by no means a professional. However, a little bit of ingenuity, you can make it happen. So, alright, have a great day.